Good day, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Bite by Bite, how small actions can help achieve zero hunger. I am Luke Polancos, your host for today.
And I am Masao Hara, your co-host. Good day, everyone.
Today, we're tackling how small actions can help achieve zero hunger.
To begin, let's give today's podcast guests a warm welcome. From Group 2 of 11 Hurtado, please welcome Joaquin Caubang, Ayn Cruz, Ariel Lempiles, and Lindsay Verona. Good day, guys.
Hi everyone.
How are you guys feeling? All good?
Yes, look, we're actually all feeling good and we're, of course, all excited to talk about this topic.
Yeah, so am I, and I've actually been meaning to talk deeply about this.
Well, that's good to hear. And if that's the case, let's not waste time and get into it. So, we all know that there is the hunger crisis and starvation, right? Well, that will be our topic for today's podcast is the hunger crisis and how can we solve it.
Over time, the hunger crisis has become a serious and known topic, dramatically worsening, mainly due to other factors like the pandemic. However, before we dive deep into it, I would like to ask our special guest for today. What is the hunger crisis and what is SDG2, known as Zero Hunger, all about?
Day host, co-guests, and our viewers. If I may, I agree that everyone knows about the hunger and the crisis itself. However, I believe that only some know what it really is about and how serious it is. So, to answer your question, the hunger crisis is when people experience severe food security, meaning they go for entire days without eating due to lack of money, access to food, or other resources.
That's right. And to add that, the factors that resulted from hunger crisis include climate change, like weather-related events like rains, droughts, and etc., making it more complicated for farmers to grow crops and difficult for aid to reach those in need. Plus, increasing food prices in another, like inflation, wherein when a country's economic becomes unstable, food prices rises, meaning people cannot buy nutritious food, for their family. And I think the war and conflict, when break out, the most vulnerable are often most affected. Fighting can force them to abandon their homes and flee for safety, of course, leading to days without food.
Okay, that's sad to hear. Now, knowing that, what's like the proposed solution then?
Well, look, the proposed solution is actually SDG2, known as the Zero Hunger. So now, Zero Hunger or SDG2 is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which of course aims to end all forms of hunger and malnutrition by the year 2030. Now, SDG2 ensures everyone, especially children, has enough healthy food throughout the year. So this entails that we encourage sustainable farming, of course, helping small scale farmers, and most important of them all is ensuring that everyone can access markets, technology, and land. To add, according to UNDP, international collaboration is, of course, also necessary to ensure that money is invested in technology and infrastructure to increase agricultural output.
Oh wow, just from that, I feel like the hunger crisis is quite a complex and big issue. What do you think, Luke?
I agree on that, Masao.
So now, with that said, I'm pretty sure that the hunger crisis isn't the same for the whole world, right?
I mean, for sure.
So, to our dear guests, we're all curious, how's the hunger crisis in the global, Philippine, and Mindanao context? Are there any significant differences between or similarities between the three contexts? Please enlighten us and our viewers.
Hello everyone, and if I may,
Go ahead, Ariel.
Well, in relation to the information given by my fellow guests, the hunger crisis is a global issue that affects education, especially for children who don't get the proper nutrition and don't have enough funds to go to school due to poverty. This issue is caused by problems like that, and as well as global problems like the COVID-19 pandemic. And from what I last read, as of 2022, did you know that like hundreds of millions of people face the hunger crisis, which has risen again due to other factors, which is again mainly the pandemic. However, people continue to help one another in various ways, such as the CRS that launched the Lead the Way, which is a multi year campaign to raise funds and advocate to end world hunger.
Okay. That's actually pretty unfortunate and sad to hear. Ariel, I guess a lot of people still get hungry even if the pandemic didn't happen. But the good news is there are still good souls out there making the world a better place. How about in the Philippine context?
According to the Global Hunger Index, the Philippines ranked 69th out of 121 countries in terms of the severity of its hunger crisis. The country has a moderate level of hunger with a score of 14.8 in 2022. However, this is an improvement from its score of 25 in 2000, which is a decrease of 21.3%. Although hunger rates are declining, it is still a top priority issues for areas like Metro Manila and Mindanao, which have higher
Wait,
rates of hunger.
wait, really? Even Metro Manila is one of the cities that's most affected?
That's right, Masao. It seems unexpected and unlikely, but that's the truth. Even though the capital of our country, they still experience hunger.
Well, that took a
Oh,
turn. How about Mindanao, though, our homeland?
Well, Luke, according to my further knowledge and research, in the Mindanao context, the hunger crisis remains unresolved. Back in the 90s, Mindanao was actually declared as the country's food basket, yet, ironically, somewhere in the year 2000s, Mindanao had the highest incidence at 33.7%. And as the years went by, the hunger crisis in Mindanao never changed, mainly because of other more significant conflicts covering up the issue. When we fast forward to 2016, the hunger crisis in Mindanao actually worsened because, like, from a rate of 13% in 2015, it rose to 19% by 2016. It affected like almost a million of families. And by 2018, the case remained the same. Like from 9% in June 2018, it rose like to 16% by September of the same year. And by the time the pandemic hit the country, it was no different. Like for the hunger rate in Mindanao for the year 2020, it was at 16%, just behind Metro Manila's 23.3%. And finally, in the first quarter of 2022, the rate from the year 2020 decreased to 13%. It is clear that although the rate increases and decreases month by month or like year by year, the hunger crisis remains an unresolved issue affecting millions of Filipinos, particularly Mindanaoans.
Oh, I see. So, in general, although based on the people's situation and said statistics, hunger has worsened over the years and it has been further exacerbated due to certain factors like the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, wars, and many more. Do you agree, Ariel?
Absolutely.
Well, looking at it now, the hunger crisis is really severe. Honestly, I didn't think or didn't expect to be hearing this much information because just like the others, I didn't think this was a very complex topic. The hunger crisis as a complex topic. No wonder it has never ended yet and is worsening over time.
yes, look, the hunger crisis may seem very basic and easy to handle. Still, if you do your research or obtain meaningful information like what my groupmates have shared, you will realize that it is a big issue that has remained unsolved for years. That That is why it is vital that we also talk about such an issue and make people aware of it on a deeper level.
I agree with Lindsay here. Although I'm still trying to process and understand the complexity of such a crisis. But all I can say is that it is an alarming and significant problem.
But yes, to go back to the question is how can we resolve such a crisis? I'm pretty sure my fellow co-hosts and our dear listeners are curious about what we can do to help determine the hunger crisis, especially knowing that it has remained unresolved for years already.
I hear you, Luke, but before we get into that, we should remember that our fellow guests are grade 11 students as well. And I'm interested to know how your Christian morality subject connects or relates to this crisis. And I want to know because Christian morality is about God and the human person, correct?
That's right, Masao.
So, if that's the case, and this podcast aims to determine how we can help resolve the hunger crisis, how we can help one another, then I would want to know how such a subject connects to your topic or issue now. How has such a subject come to help you determine your ways of helping resolve such a crisis?
Well, that's actually kind of unexpected.
Oh, forgive me, I.
But, to answer that, in our first topic on foundation of Christian morality, the problem of hunger can be connected to what is our first topic again?
I believe it's about the false images of God, like God as a punisher, God as a tester, or even as a controller.
Oh, oh yeah, that's right. Thank you for your example, Ariel. Those who suffer or experience the difficulties of hunger most likely most likely have the thought that they face such a problem or God gave them such a problem or challenge in life because God's punishing them or trying to test their faith when it's not. For me, the best example of this whenever we fail quizzes or exams, we think it's a punishment from God because we didn't review because we choose to play online games. They're just unfortunately facing a problem, and God instead tries to strengthen them in ways that we humans fail to see or acknowledge it.
Well, to add, secondly, on the topic of the human person, it is said that as humans, we are created in the image of God. We are also relational beings. We are embodied subjects. We're historical beings. And of course, we are fundamentally equal but uniquely original. So, as such, we are called to be persons who should strive for change and the betterment of ourselves and those around us. So, now in the issue of hunger, we're called to be determined to face such an issue and find ways to resolve them or to cope with it if unfortunately we're facing or experiencing such. Moreover, the issue of hunger relates in a way that we're called to view everyone as equal, preserve respect and the dignity of every person, and of course, again, push for change and the betterment of the lives of everyone by simply helping one another in ways that we're capable of, regardless of how small or how big.
And I would like to add the last topic, the authentic human freedom. It is stated that we have the freedom from anything that opposes us or true self-becoming with others in the community. And we have the freedom to determine ourselves to be our better or best version. In the context of hunger issue, it can be said that we all deserve liberty from hunger and starvation. That we should have the freedom to be people who are healthy and away from problems or issue that negatively affects us. Thus, in conclusion, the hunger issue is present and connects to the topic of Christian morality For as such, we focus on the human freedom and on God how it relates to us. And for our dear viewers, what can you say about this topic?
Oh wow, I'm actually super intrigued and speechless. Christian morality then relates to your issue.
I agree. It's actually great that such a subject has helped you guests and students realize and find the connection of the hunger crisis to God in the human person. It's nice to see how such a subject developed you to become a person who relates to society, is well aware of issues and how can they help to it. But with that said, I'll return to my question. So how can we resolve the hunger crisis?
Well, considering how complex it is, of course, there's yet to be a definite answer or solution to the hunger crisis. But that's why, like the topic of our podcast today, we can, of course, formulate ways to help resolve such a crisis. So now, for my fellow guests and me, we believe that to help determine the hunger crisis, we can do the following. Firstly, we can raise awareness. So now many people need to be made aware of the extent of the hunger crisis, both globally and locally. So we can use social media or school clubs and other platforms to raise awareness about the issue and encourage others to join the fight against hunger. We can also educate others about food insecurities, root causes and impacts, and of course, share resources and reliable information about local organizations and programs that help address hunger. What else? Thirdly, we can also create a meal program that provides healthy, nutritious meals to those in need in the community. And we can also work with the volunteers and donors to establish and sustain the program. We can also volunteer our time, since many organizations that combat hunger rely on volunteers to help with various tasks, such as distributing food, organizing donations, and fundraising. We can look for local food banks, soup kitchens, and maybe other organizations that work to alleviate hunger in our communities, and we should see if they need volunteers.
Yes, I agree, Anne, and I believe we can also donate money. Like many organizations that work to combat hunger accept monetary donations. Like if you have a little extra money, consider donating to a reputable organization that provides food assistance to those in need. Secondly, we can reduce our food waste because food waste is one of the most significant contributors to the hunger crisis. And as a student, you can do your part by avoiding food waste at home and in your school cafeteria. Like only take what you can eat and consider donating leftover food to local organizations that can distribute it to those in need. Like personally, in our household, if we have leftovers, we usually share it to others or use it to feed the strays. Lastly, another solution I can say is to propose policy reforms that address the underlying causes of hunger, such as poverty, unemployment, and a lack of access to education and healthcare.
How about you, Joaquin? Do you have anything to add?
Probably an additional information I can add is composting, donating excess food to food banks, and repurposing leftovers are all ways to reduce food waste. Another thing I can think of is supporting local businesses or initiatives that promote sustainable agriculture and food security. And lastly, whenever traveling to mountainous areas very far from the city, always bring food to spare since there are bound to be people begging for food instead of money since stores where money can be used are currently not available.
How about for our dear viewers? What else can you add in your little ways?
Well, although many other ways exist to combat or help resolve the hunger crisis, we believe that such small and, of course, doable actions can already do so. So it doesn't really matter how small or big the step is. What matters is that if we even did something to act on issues or problems that affect everyone.
Wow, I just realized that there are many things we can do about the issue like the hunger crisis. And I think that the only thing stopping us from contributing to resolving such a crisis is that we are more concerned of how much of a big help we can be instead of just acting upon these issues.
Well, yeah, sad to say, that's just the reality.
Well, anyhow, just to refresh, the hunger crisis is when people don't have anything to eat, correct?
Yes, Luke.
The proposed solution is SDG2, yet unfortunately the world is not on track, right?
On point.
However, we can all contribute to resolving such a crisis through the small actions we can think of, or those suggested, like what the guest said, right?
Yes, Luke, the hunger crisis really is a big and complex issue. So, to our dear listeners, please let us be more aware of the ongoing problems worldwide. Let us focus on uh, how big of a help we can be and instead simply focus on what we can do to help.
Well, then that wraps our podcast. To our dear listeners, thank you for so much for tuning in. And of course, to our dear guest, a big thank you for showing up today and expressing your meaningful thoughts and opinions for sharing reliable information about the hunger crisis. The world truly appreciates you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's it for today, everyone. See you again next time.
Bye bye.